Well, ladies and gentlemen, I never thought I would live to see this day. It feels kind of like if Jesus came back. You're like, there's no way this is going to happen in my lifetime, right? That's the same way I felt about Donald Trump ever being held accountable. But lo and behold, it actually happened, ladies and gentlemen. Former President Trump is found guilty in historic New York criminal case. I know, it's groundbreaking. And even more so, he has been found guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records to influence the outcome of the 2016 presidential election, a historic verdict as Trump, the presumptive Republican presidential nominee, campaigns again for the White House. This is so funny, by the way, that Trump was literally just found guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records to influence the 2016 election. And now he lost the 2020 election, and he's been crying about election fraud ever since. And yet he was literally just found guilty in a court of law. 12 New York jurors said they unanimously agreed that Trump falsified business records to conceal a $130,000 hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels to influence the 2016 election. Trump constantly is pointing the finger, whining and crying and screeching that it's the Democrats or the illegal immigrants that are influencing the outcome of the elections, that they're engaged in voter fraud. Trump was just found guilty by 12 jurors, unanimously found guilty of 34 counts of trying to influence the outcome of the 2016 election. If there's any Republican who still supports Trump, they have serious, severe brain damage. They are a result of incest, and I promise you this, it breaks my heart that I have to share oxygen with those people. The decision came after about a day and a half of deliberations. As the verdicts were read, Trump remained silent and still. Yeah, probably pretty disappointing, huh? But the former president spoke to reporters outside the courtroom, calling the trial a rigged, disgraceful trial, and saying that the real verdict will be rendered on election day. Well, on election day, the verdict that's reached will determine who is president. In the court of law, the verdict that is reached is going to determine whether or not you're going to fucking prison, buddy. I would not say that the election is the, quote, real verdict. Not at all. But also, can we just appreciate the irony here? Now it's a rigged trial. Like, literally everything Trump does, if it goes wrong, now it's just fucking rigged. It's the most pathetic, crybaby, wimpy, bitchy fucking approach imaginable. And all the MAGA supporters, they're the people that claim that they're against the SJW liberals and whatnot. I'm sorry, but you're a snowflake, whiny if you unironically are going to go and say everything is rigged because your big daddy Trump lost. If every time Trump loses, something's rigged, maybe actually Trump just sucks. Like, what's easier to believe? That a jury was presented with enough evidence to find Trump guilty? Or that the whole election and now all of the New York courts are rigged against Trump? Like, what's more believable here? Give me a break. The deep state literally just means that you're deep-throating Trump's cock and you are desperate and full of cope. You're coping at this point. The verdict came more than a year after a grand jury indicted Trump on March 30th, 2023, marking the first time a former or sitting president faced criminal charges. Hey, that's pretty cool, huh? Trump said he was going to bring America back to number one. Now Trump is number one, the first president to ever face criminal charges. Congrats, bro. Now, even though Trump is coping by saying that this was somehow a rigged trial or some cringe, it seems as though this guilty verdict does have the potential to have negative consequences for Donald Trump. So here's a poll that was taken before the conviction was reached today, and it shows that a conviction does indeed cost Trump support, but Biden doesn't exactly gain. But it doesn't really matter because when Trump loses, The larger percentage is not sure / someone else. So it could go to Biden or even third party. Either way, Biden is going to gain. Right now, what matters is that Trump is losing support. Even more so, this article goes into a little bit more detail as to how this conviction could affect the 2024 election. Trump has continually blasted any criminal charges he faces as election interference, affecting his 2024 presidential campaign. That's super convenient, by the way. You know what? If you're like a mass murderer, turns out the best thing you can do is run for president. Because then when the cops start recovering a bunch of bodies, you can just be like, yo, this is fucking election interference, okay? They know that I'm running for president. They're trying to bring up all this ad hominem attack. Oh, you stabbed somebody. Oh, you slit the throat of an innocent child. Oh, boo-hoo. Like, shut the fuck up. It's election interference, okay? It's really convenient because now anytime he faces any criminal charges, it's just because he's running for president. This info right here is definitely pretty depressing. The latest NPR/PBS poll from May showed that 17% of voters surveyed said they would be less likely to vote for Trump if he were convicted, while 15% said they would be more likely to vote for him. They said they'd be more likely to vote. He is now a convicted felon. That makes me want to vote for him even more. All right, those people are the reason why shampoo has fucking instructions on the back. Because there are people that are results of incest and they're this fucking retarded. Even worse, 67% of registered voters nationally said it makes no difference to their vote if Trump is found guilty in his hush money trial. This is also really disappointing because Trump has somehow managed to be so abysmal and cause so much drama. He's done so many stupid things that at this point people are like, oh, isn't it just like Trump being Trump? President Biden's campaign, however, had a longer statement and also pretty based Biden here. He says, quote, in New York today, we saw that no one is above the law. There is still only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, at the ballot box. Convicted felon or not, Trump will be the Republican nominee for president, which should also really tell you a lot of things. Like, Republicans don't care. They talk so much about how Democrats are criminals. Democrats don't care about the Constitution. Democrats don't care about the law. Donald Trump literally ran on law and order, and this motherfucker just got convicted and found guilty of 34 different fucking counts. So Trump has been convicted. Here's what happens next. So it says here that these are Class E felonies. They're definitely less serious under New York law. And each count carries a maximum sentence of 4 years in prison. Trump's sentence could include fines and restitution, probation, or other conditions, but a sentence of imprisonment is not off the table. Well, you know, Donald Trump does seem to look pretty good in orange. Trump's conduct during the trial could also factor into the ultimate decision. That could be a problem for the former president, who publicly attacked the judge and accused him of political bias throughout the trial. The judge also previously accused Trump of trying to, quote, intimidate the court, prompting an expansion of the gag order that Trump would later violate 10 times. Trump's violation of the gag orders, his vilification of the court process, of the judge, or of the prosecution, all that is fair game for the judge to consider. However, it does seem that experts think it's highly unlikely that Trump will face any jail time as a result of the verdict. I'd be shocked if Trump is sentenced to jail. He added that a sentence of probation would be normal for the average defendant convicted of the same crime. Somebody who committed the same crime, at that point we're talking about falsifying business records, but isn't the motive also important? Like, he was trying to influence the 2016 election. That seems pretty significant. That seems like it might have far more of a potential impact there. Damn, here's Trump about to find out that he's guilty. He's not looking so good. He looks really sad. It also appears that although jail is unlikely for Trump, especially because of the complex challenges associated with locking up a former president, it's possible that they might even opt for house arrest or just jail in general. In fact, on May 6th, Trump was held in contempt for repeatedly violating his gag order, and the judge threatened him with prison time and said punishing him with jail time was, quote, the last thing I want to do. He says, quote, you are the former president of the United States and possibly the next president as well, adding that he worried about both the logistics and the broader implications of jailing him. This sounds like a father scolding a child. He's like, dude, come on. You're the former president. You might even be the next president, okay? Think about the logistics and the broader implications of jailing you. Please, just consider it, son. Or no ice cream. Like, that's what it sounds like to me. Even though he's been found guilty, his legal battle does not appear that it will prevent him from running for president. So Donald Trump, the sad loser who ran on Law and Order, is now a victim of Law and Order. Turns out that if you want to have Law and Order, it helps if you follow the law. And all the Republicans crying about this, claiming that it's biased, coping, and everything else, I'd ask you to consider that maybe, just maybe, this is just personal responsibility in action. I mean, after all, conservatives really love personal responsibility. They love telling black people to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. Well, maybe now it's time for Trump to do the exact same thing. This is, after all, the consequences of Donald Trump's dumb fuck behavior. But there you guys have it. Donald Trump has been found guilty, and it could have a bit of an impact on the election, although it's hard to tell because turns out America is full of a lot of retards. We kind of already knew this, but it's nice to be reminded that I'm right every once in a while. Donald Trump, you've been found guilty. You're a pathetic joke. You're a hypocrite. And I hope that MAGA abandons you once and for all.